WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. I've waited a long time. I've waited 90 days for this segment. We're going to be getting the Maryland Crab Cake Tour back out on the road. I'm going to be at G&A Coney Island Hot Dog this week. It's not in Coney Island. It's not just hot dogs anymore. Breakfast and crab cakes, too. Going to be in White Marsh. That's going to be up on Route 7 on Friday from 2 until 5. And then next Wednesday, we're going to be at Conrad's Crabs from 2 until 5. That's special Wednesday edition. There's a rumor Rob Santoni's going to come around and talk about the cramp he had on his 22nd mile in the Boston Marathon the other day from Wise Markets. But I found my Cole roofing. This is the real one, okay? So it has the original scratches and everything in it. This means that Bill Cole is back. I do have some Royal Farms coffee in a cup. I'm waiting for the new Chicken Palooza this summer. Hope they go with a purple shirt or a deep gold or something like that. Billy, how are you, man? What's going on? You evaporated on me last couple weeks, bro.
Yeah, so let me set the record straight on a couple things there. So that's definitely the original mug because I'm unwilling to give you another, so we can confirm that that's the real one. I
didn't like this mug at first because it's got like a narrow bottom, and I'm like the Alice in Wonderland. Like I like a lot of Royal Farms coffee in my cup. I like the bigger cups, and you gave me the bigger one, and I knocked it over and destroyed a console once. That was the 100-year mug. This was the original mug, and it's become a little bit of a binky. I'm not going to lie to you. It's the large. See, I'm missing a finger. Let's start with that. So grasping it's a little difficult. So this large handle on it. And I missed it. It's comforting. It's warm. You know what I mean? So for 90 days, I struggled with other mugs around here, but I'm staying true to you, and I hope we don't break it. We don't have a dishwasher anymore, so if we break it, it's my fault.
And I'm glad we cleared up the mug. I agree. It's not my favorite mug either. The reason I can't give you one is because we didn't do another run of them because nobody else liked them. So you are unique in that position, but that's all right. Okay.
So it's like an heirloom.
Right.
Or like a mistake.
Right. I also want to confirm that like the whole Coney Island hot dog thing is curious to me too. Like I know.
Do you know about G&A Coney Island? Or you're not from my side of town, right?
I am very curious about their hot dogs, although I am resistant to go because I have gone to Detroit, and you know we love Detroit. So they have the two places that are right next to each other downtown, and you have to go and you have to eat them both. And then you have to decide whether you're this Coney guy or that Coney guy. And how Coney Island hot dogs ended up in Detroit, that's all very bizarre to me. And those are the weird stories that like make up the fabric of the history of the United States.
Well, I'm sure it involved immigration and children and cheap food and what to do with bologna that didn't feel like bologna. So, right? Kind of.
Yeah. So I'm actively trying to make sure that I'm not telling you wrong. Yeah, no, I'm right. It's Coney Island hot dog. And then there are two places in Detroit that are right next to one another. And you have to go.
I try to avoid Detroit. You know that, right?
You're just not fully understanding. American Coney Island, and then I don't know what the other place is.
I'm going to White Marsh to G&A. So where did you grow up? Give everybody your background, Bill Cole Roofing.
Perry Hall, Kingsville.
So you had no occasion to go to Highlandtown as a kid?
Only maybe because I had like a Greek friend and his grandmother lived down there.
Okay, fair enough. So you didn't frequent Patterson Park, or you went through on the way to Canton to get a beer at Looney's or something like that. So here's the deal. I would say I spent most of my childhood in Highlandtown on Saturday mornings, Friday night, Saturday mornings. My parents took the bus. We shopped at Epstein, Shockett's. Stella's was like this incredible Greek, Italian, Mediterranean place. My mother got olives. It smelled like rank cheese, smelled like Limburger because it had all that. It had charcuterie, the whole deal. And I took my first music lessons, my guitar lessons, Jaeger's Music, which was across from Hausner's, which is now like a housing development, whatever. It's right down the street from the Chaucer. It's a block, 2 blocks from the Chaucer. One of our sponsors. So in Highlandtown, it's where we got the bus to go to Oriole games. Okay. So that's why Highlandtown would be really important. Not only did I spend a lot of Saturdays in Highlandtown in the afternoon with my parents and grandparents. Every Sunday school dress, dress up. Every confirmation, communion, suit came from the front windows in Highlandtown. I don't know why my parents were anti-mall. Might have been the merry-go-round thing that Boogie Wineglass brought in that I looked a little too disco in 75 or 76. Although if you look at some of my Easter stuff, there's no doubt my mother was shopping at merry-go-round for me, even though I was 6 years old. So Highlandtown was a big part of my childhood, right? So the 23 bus, my parents never drove. The 23 bus transferred in Highlandtown either to the 10, the 20, or the 22. The 22 was the Highlandtown bus. You had to go up Grundy Street to the backside of Epstein's onto Bank Street, and I grew up on Bank Street, but the one in the county, and you would take the 22 bus out Edison, through Bel Air Edison, past where Ed Lauer lives, through Herring Run Park, past the little fire hydrants that had Johnny Unitas and Brooks Robinson on the fire hydrants right there on Bel Air Road, by like Bel Air Edison in that area. And then you go through Montebello, right? And then the 23 would let you off right in from Memorial Stadium. Then after the game, you jump on because the games are 2 hours and 10 minutes because McNally was pitching, or Palmer, or Martinez, or Cuellar, whatever it was, even Steve Stone. And then you would take the 22 bus back to Highlandtown, usually jubilantly yelling, "Red Sox suck." O-R-I-O. So this is Wild Bill era, right? So you would get off the bus and you'd be in Highlandtown. And sometimes you'd see a rat run down Grundy Street, but you would always go around to Mr. Rivera's on Eastern Avenue and you would get a slice of pizza. And this is in Highland. So this is about 8 doors down from Epstein's, and then about 8 doors up from Epstein's was G&A Coney Island hot dog. My dad hated getting hot dogs at Memorial Stadium because they cost like $1 and they were like 20 cents, 30 with chili and cheese on them at G&A Coney Island hot dog in 1975. So my dad, when we would transfer the bus, you get a transfer ticket, we get off the 23, my dad would say, "Hey, let's go up and get a hot dog up here, they're better." My dad was always selling them because they were better because they were cheaper, right? So we would go up, and they had all the stuff that I didn't want. Chili, mustard, which I still hate. All I wanted was ketchup, and not even relish then, just ketchup. And as a kid, I don't want to be disrespectful to Andy because I'm going to tell the story sitting with him, but like I like the ones at the stadium better because they had the buns were like warm, and the bun stuck to the. Do you remember this? The bun stuck to the paper, the wax paper, right? But my dad always preferred G&A Coney Island hot dog, and he figured, fill your belt. My dad stood in soup lines in 1929, didn't have any food, so my dad would always say, "Put something in your belly, put something in your stomach," and my father would say, "Put something in your belly before you go out to the ballpark. Coke here's 20 cents, out there it's 80, 75. Come on. Get 2 here. Get 2 here." That's why I was fat when I was a kid. So I went to G&A Coney Island hot dog all of my childhood, and Andy has moved his business up to White Marsh on Route 7. He has a From Baltimore with Love sign. He's now a diner, pancakes, line out the door, completely different business. And I'm going to talk to him about that on Friday. So there you go, Bill Coles. There's your East Baltimore story about a local business that you probably know about. Guy Fieri's been there, but my friend Andy, who will make the hot dogs on his arm like he's done, soup it all up, put whatever you want on it, sauerkraut, beans, whatever you want.
No, I like a Coney Island dog the way they're supposed to be done, with the chili and the mustard and the onions. I mean, I like that.
Whoa! Supposed to be done.
Yeah.
You're saying there's a right way to do it?
A Coney Island hot dog, yes.
Has mustard on it?
Chili, onions, and mustard. Yes.
Well, then I've never had a Coney Island hot dog in my life.
That's the definition of a Coney Island hot dog. Yep.
All right. Well, I'm going to play along. Bill Cole's here, Cole Roofing, learning about hot dogs, weenies, frankfurters, Vienna sausage, and I don't know whatever else. How are you? You vacation. We've had opening day. We've had owners meetings, about to have a draft. You've got kids and all sorts of things and places and running a roofing business. How is life as we sort of unmask here like Kiss did once?
Good. I want to give you my 33rd Street story, though. So my aunt lived down there by Lake Montebello. So we used to go to her house, and then we would go over to 33rd Street. my bus riding, not to date ourselves, was the White Marsh Mall Express ride
Ah,
to Camden Yards.
Camden Yards in 92. Okay. How old were you in 92 when they opened the ballpark?
I don't know, like 13, 14.
Okay, so you don't really have Memorial Stadium memories that are you prepubescent. You were a little boy at Memorial Stadium,
Well,
like literally.
Yeah, but my best fantastical Major League Baseball stories are mostly Memorial Stadium, right? Like the place where I stood by the door where the players came out after the game till 1 o'clock in the morning with my aunt was Mickey Tettleton coming out of 33rd.
89.
Like,
you were 10 years old. Okay. So 89 was your special year, and why not? Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Right. Adult baseball, even teen baseball, kind of, right? That was all Camden Yards, All-Star Game, that kind of stuff. So,
did you see the crowd in Oakland Tuesday night?
No.
I'm going to show it to you because I put it up on my Facebook earlier. I'm going to pull this picture up. Anybody is watching. I just literally, this opening night, they had 17,000 in Oakland. This was night 2. This is literally first pitch in Oakland on Tuesday night for a Baltimore Orioles. This is Cedric Mullins batting. There are 500 people in Oakland going to baseball games right now. I mean, here opening day, I spent last week arguing with Moeller that he took the Sean Spicer route of, sure, it was a sellout. They said it was.
Right.
That's not the kind of journalism I'm going to be doing heretofore when I fly to Palm Beach and the owner of the football team decides he doesn't want to talk to me because I don't smell the right way.
Right. So I'm the luckiest current baseball fan. I have watched approximately 2 innings of the Orioles so far this year, and it was against the Yankees when we beat them in the 8th inning and scored 5 runs. I watched that in the 9th inning to see if we could close it out. That's it.
Well, you need to watch more Oriole baseball then.
Well, no, as far as I'm concerned, we are awesome, and we're the best team in baseball. We beat the Yankees, and my season is complete now.
So you can go back to parenting your kids and taking them around to various sports activities.
Yeah, no, yeah. So I guess to come back, I don't know. It's a weird place. Again, it continues to be somewhat weird, right? Like, we still have lots of supply chain problems, and like COVID conversations are kind of weird. Some people don't want to have them at all. Some people really want to have them. I got off a plane on Saturday that we had to wear a mask the whole time, and then my buddy got on a plane yesterday, and I don't think he had to wear a mask. He wasn't sure if they were going to make him or not, but I said, no, I'm pretty sure nobody's wearing masks on planes now. And all change is going to be uncomfortable, right? Like if you didn't think coming out of this wasn't going to be weird, then you're probably living under a rock.
Well, they weren't going to put a switch, turn a light on, right? Literally, we knew that.
Always going to be weird. And we've been through some of that early weirdness where are we shaking hands? Like there's still some people you run into who like don't want to shake your hand.
You know what pisses me off is I come up to somebody and I elbow bump them and they shame me. Are you afraid of breathing at me? Yes, I am. Yes. I don't need a hug and no smooch. I don't need to make out with you. I just don't. I mean, I'm not being rude, but don't be rude back to me. I acknowledge that I respect you and I'm willing that I would hug you on a flat line if you weren't hugging everybody else and I didn't have to go home to my wife who almost watched Die Twice. It's a little different for me. So the part where your politics comes in and you got to get fresh with me about, oh, well, I don't believe in those. I couldn't believe how excited people were to take masks off on a plane. And I'm thinking to myself, there are unvaccinated kids on the plane too. Like, I mean, like, I don't know. We've politicize things into unpopularity that on the face of it, it's silly. It's silly.
Maybe those people are celebrating because they politically believe something else, but
they're celebrating the freedom after getting rubbed down, stripped down, taking everything off to get on the airplane. Now they're going to like celebrate the freedom to maybe contract something that could kill them or kill someone they love. And that's a fact. That's And by the way, the numbers are going up here again. So if the numbers weren't going up, I wouldn't, if I didn't know people in the last 2 weeks that have canceled things with me because they've had COVID, which has really happened in my life. Now, I'm not living that way. I'm going out and doing things. I'm not really wearing a mask most places, but also avoiding any place that looks like there's too many people. I got into Quigley's on opening day, and it was too crowded. And guess what happened on Wednesday morning? Girl who came up, shamed me for not hugging her, said, I've got COVID. You might want to check yourself. I'm like, I'm not checking myself. I didn't hug your ass. That's a true story.
I think the part that people are missing is the hospital numbers aren't going up, correlating with the rise in cases. And you can't ignore that connection point, because our job all along was to prevent the hospitals from getting overwhelmed, right? Where people will be dying in the parking lot because they can't get a bed in the hospital.
And I think specifically in a place like Baltimore, where there are so many hospitals close to each other and nurses are going in and out of different hospitals and doctors, that this city was under a lockdown, I believe. And, maybe one day Brandon Scott would come clean to me, or whether he would ever come clean. But I think when the thing began in New York and Seattle happened, I think Baltimore was a real pressure point for the East Coast and for making sure we didn't get sick because of the hospitals here. It is our economy.
I do believe that, like, we live in a time where we get to benefit from modern medicine. But if modern medicine is unavailable to you because things are overwhelmed, well, then we're pretty much screwed, and it might as well be 1910. So your primary job was to prevent the inability to get care, right? So when we're talking about the rise in COVID, you have to ask one more follow-up question, is like, okay, yes, I understand the numbers are going up in certain places. Are the hospital, beds, are the people on ventilators, are the other consequences? Or is it that sort of case where we were talking, and it all runs together, so I'm sure you'll correct me if I'm off, but I guess it was Omicron, but like lots of people were getting it, and the only people that kept dying were the ones who were unvaccinated. It was like,
right.
And they're like 92% of the deaths are people who were unvaccinated, and people are laying there in the hospital asking to be vaccinated. So I think,
but the vaccines only go so far. It's been 6 months since I took the last shot. It might be getting time for me to go get another shot and a bowl of soup over at Costas and just make sure I don't get sick the next day.
Right. And like that, I guess that's kind of my question, is like, so, okay, the cases are going up, right? I'm not going to instantly react and freak out to that. I want to ask a few more questions. The hospital numbers aren't. Okay, great. And is that because the people who are contracting it are vaccinated, or is this version just not as nasty and it's become a mild cold in this mutation, right? Like, those are the questions. But
well, I'm flying next week, right? And you flew last week.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear a mask next week. Because nobody else is. And it's always the goofball who's smoking 6 packs a day that doesn't have a mask on. It's always at Yahoo. And it was every time I've been on a plane the last 2 years, it's the person that takes their mask off to speak that I beware. So walking around airports, which I've done, relatively freely the last year, going places I've wanted to go and do things that I've wanted to do, one of the safety features for me was everybody's got a mask on. I'm safer just because of that. And I have a mask on too, but if I pull mine down, the air's probably okay. I now know, getting on that tube, much like I knew forever, when you would get off a plane and have a hack because you sat next to that person and shaking hands. My wife has been a serial wiper downer of all of the stuff because she had seen 10 years ago how dirty planes are and that they don't sanitize them and clean them, and kids and cookies and schmeg and where people's anuses are when they're flying for 14 hours at a time, like just all of it, right? Bathrooms being tight. I would say there's no way I'm not going to wear a mask next week if 80% of the people on the plane are off hacking for an hour and a half going to Chicago. Like, there's no, like, for me, it's going to make me more vigilant in an environment like when I walked into Quigley's last week and it was too crowded, and I'm like, I'm getting my beer outside. I'm going into pee and getting out. I'm not hanging out in here because I don't want to get sick. I don't want to be sick for a weekend. I got stuff to do. I don't think I'm going to die, whatever. But I think if my mother were alive, I could kill her. Or if I go hugging your grandmother because I'm at an event on Saturday night and she's a hugger, and like, I don't want to do that. And so I am living differently, to your point, but it's not stopping me from living. But it's also not. I'm not going to bitch about wearing a mask for an hour and 28 minutes. And, if I'm in BWI on the far end of the airport, I won't have a mask on. But getting on a plane, we should have been wearing masks for 30 years on planes. That's a different story altogether.
Well, I don't think they all think that. Well, something I heard yesterday, which I thought was pretty insightful, was like boarding and deplaning and the line up for Southwest and all of that, you should wear a mask. Once the plane's on, the air's running through filters, which this doctor, whoever was on TV or whatever was talking about, says that's fine. But
if you're an 8D and the person in 8E is hacking on you without a mask, touching stuff, touching you, and you're flying to Salt Lake City, I don't know I'm not a medical man, but I don't want to sit next to that person.
I don't believe that for the entire history of humankind, we cleaned our hands before we ate, right? Like at some point, somebody figured out that was a good idea. And then there was an adoption period where society began.
We didn't have toilet paper until the Sherman guy came along. So I got you. Right. Yeah. I mean, I always appreciate you bringing this back to the center, right? Like the guy bitching about the Wi-Fi at 38,000 feet, dude. You're in a plane. You're getting to Paris in 6 hours. Sit down. Read a book.
I think right. Like, if you want to wear a mask, what the part I joke with myself on is I always blame the plane too, that I would come back from travel and have a cold, 3 days later. And it was always the plane's fault.
It might have been the pillow in the Marriott.
It's right. It didn't have anything to do with the way
the 88 hands you shook, the drink where the guy said, here, taste this. This is Jack and Coke. You like it? And you take it. You're like, literally, this has been going on from the beginning of time, right?
The fact that I only
38 other things you did in Las Vegas that would have compromised you. The dollar bills you touched at the, at the gas station.
the joke, right. And when you go to those things, conventions or whatever, all of that interaction with outside humans, right, is like 1,000x.
You know who I want to talk to about this? The next time I have Ripken on, Moeller will be kissing his, oh, Cal, you 2131. I'll say, Cal, what really got you germphobic? Like, what was the thing about you not shaking hands that led you to believe you play 162 or 163 games, right? Like, because Cal had that early on, like shaking hands. He just didn't like shaking hands with people. And I think it wasn't like he was going to squeeze my knuckles really hard, like some clown did a couple of weeks ago at an event. I think he was a politician. I don't know.
What is interesting is because this is how we behave. We have this pandemic. There's this shortage of all the PPE. So now, like, I have enough disposable masks. Like, I could wear one every day and throw it away, right? Because like you overreact, you place the order, all of a sudden you show up and it's these boxes and you're like, oh my God. Well, I have that with hand sanitizer. So I'll shake everybody's hands because I end up walking around with a thing hand sanitizer in my pocket all the time now because it's just sitting there with my keys and my wallet.
I'm a serial washer. I wash I don't touch anybody, but I wash, Dude, the sanitizer destroyed my hands in the winter. It's so dry. So like, I'm not a sanitizer fan. I will use it when I pick up a pen and I sign for Thai food on the way out of a carry out or whatever, right? But, and I have sanitizer in the car before I touch the steering wheel. My wife and I are vigilant about. So we've been vigilant about being clean. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. You know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with that. Don't say to me, why won't you shake my hand? Is there something wrong with it? I I don't need to think about it like that. I like you. I can fist bump you and acknowledge my love and care and respect for you without having to slobber on you or touch your paws.
Look, it's interesting. A friend, they have a big family event coming up in a week, and they, as a family, decided that the week leading in, they were all going to mask up 24/7 wherever they went. They were going to go to lockdown status because it's really important to them that they don't get grandma sick or grandpa, like they're going to bring all these people into their circle and they want to protect them. So their entire family agreed. Like he walks into, and it's like, why do you have a mask on, man? It's like, oh, so he told me the story. And I was like, all right, that's interesting, right? Like that's a different perspective that most people would not even think like that, right? Like that's a super caring for others kind of perspective to take.
Well, my dear friend Alan McCallum came over to El Guapo and did a segment with us and had his mask on when nobody else, when masks were coming off. He's taking care of two elderly parents, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, stop.
Right.
Just, Alan, put your mask on and you're comfortable as long as I can hear you. It's fine. There's a plague. And, like, right. Take care of you. My mother was 98 years old. If she were still alive and 102 right now, I might not leave the house other than to spend time with her. Or I'd have her here and that would be it. Right? I mean, like, lump in my throat. That's like, it's lucky she checked out of here before we got to that point. Bill Cole is here. I am drinking some Royal Farms coffee in my Cole roofing mug. It is back. It's like my little warm binky. I don't know. Weather's getting better here. So like getting out a little bit. So your kids are playing sports. You're doing like all that, right? Spring's nice, right? I mean, like this is, I'm out in the country and we're seeing fox and deer. We have a turkey that's adopted us. I'm seeing all the buds on the trees. We're sneezing our faces off from pollen and all that. We're not worried it's COVID. But this is, it feels like the first time we've had spring in a couple of years. And an opening day led into that, right? Like it's the first time I've been to an opening day in 3 years, being outside, seeing people in orange, whatever, that it feels, I don't know. It feels like rebirth to me. I've got an extra pep in my step about work, about play, about travel, about things we're doing. My wife's seeing the man who saved her life in a few weeks, and we're making plans. It's Slaughter's playing the Heritage Fair in Dundalk. I mean, things are happening, and it's. Right. I feel good about that. I feel better than I did in the winter, and I think spring in general, daylight, all of that, except for the rainy days when it's chilly. I think there's some enthusiasm that I have that I think that the region's picking up a little bit. People are getting out. Restaurants are full, dude.
Oh, I would totally agree. I mean, I think it's interesting. You've got Preakness like out there about, what is it, maybe 4 weeks away, right? So it's
graduations, all the colleges, all the high schools, right? Proms. I've seen proms.
Super ramp up that's occurring, and like, good luck. I mean, I was always, when I was in school, terrible in the spring. Like the minute it was out, like you lost me. I'm totally gone. And so I think
when senior week,
it's totally going to be hard for everyone to try and keep some focus here.
If Ocean City sponsors this thing, should I just go down and do senior week old school? Me and you. It'd be like something like out of one of those bad movies, A couple old guys get down.
There's a lot of
just watch young people do stupid stuff we used to do and tell old stories.
I'll tell you, I don't know if it's exactly senior week, but my girls, there's a lacrosse tournament down there, and it's always like right around that same weekend. So you've got
first week of June, yeah?
Yeah, you've got like this huge conglomerate of lacrosse girls and their parents.
And also leftover Memorial Day people, right? Just
and then all these, 18-year-olds just colliding with that group. So
I got the best story on that. You ready? Oh. 2 years ago, plague ends. I'm considering running for mayor. I leave after the election, that first weekend of June, and Sheila Dixon's winning the election when I leave. So we went to Dewey Beach because Dewey Beach was open, right? It was June. And the hotel we stayed in is, I'm not going to give the name. It wasn't barely ready to be open. Nothing was barely this starboard. I've never spent any time in Dewey Beach in my life, just so you know. Like all the people chasing girls, chasing bars, bottle and cork. I've been on a couple shows at the Bottle and Cork. I have never put my head on a pillow in Dewey Beach in my life. Right. until this trip 2 years ago. And we went down and we went Friday, Saturday, Sunday, came back Monday. Nobody's down there, masks everywhere, beach is barely open, red lights are barely working, Woody's wasn't even open, like nothing was open. And we went out to walk up to get a beer at this Hawaiian place up on the strip, and we saw kids walking down the street, lots and lots of kids, boys, girls, young, black, white, look, young, all walking toward this house. And we're like, we went up, had a beer, came back at like, I don't know, 9:30. And when we came back, they were on the roof of the house. We had pictures of it. It was old school. There was no one around. But there were 300 kids, 40 kids on the roof, not on the deck, on the roof.
Right.
Partying. It was something they saw at Daytona Beach, right? And then we heard
the beer bong, the big,
all of it, dude, all of it. Kids throwing up on the grass, girls holding their girlfriends up, dragging their feet up the street. The whole thing happens. And then the Dewey Beach police descended upon it. Okay. And we watched the walk of shame of the kids, grabbing their hat, trying to figure out what they left at the door. Did they leave their wallet? Can they find their cell phone? Who's got pictures? Are their parents going to find out? All Jen and I could say was, whose house was that? But we saw an old school ripper.
That's fun.
We saw one 2 years ago, for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
And the Dewey police sat 2 blocks away and watched it for like 45 minutes to maybe a 90.
Really, it was like out of a movie. I have video of it, the whole deal.
Just letting them get going, letting them blow off a little steam, and then it's like
Jen and I were almost went over just to get a beer. Literally, I said, but we didn't because of COVID, right? I mean, it was a house party,
sure,
in the middle of the plague, right? So in normal times, honestly, on a flat world, I was saying to her, if they have a cooler out and I'll go over there and sit with these kids and say, where are you from? Oh, Linthicum. Nice to meet you, man. Yeah. We were afraid we'd look like the parents raiding the place, though. So
they were not worried about COVID because they're all college students and they already had COVID earlier in the year. So that was a all COVID immune party because they had already had COVID when they went to school. So they were okay. They were safe.
I don't know what to make of.
Before anybody got alcohol poisoning, it was probably
pre-plague and post-plague is going to be a whole BC AD kind of thing for most, I think, Americans here. Bill Cole is here. Tell me what you do besides getting on roofs when you can, getting products when you can, helping patch radio station owners' places when you can.
Yeah, I would say today I would describe it as really happy and proud of the opportunities for meaningful employment that we're giving people right now. We've had a pretty good run of some new people entering our universe, coming in, looking for jobs, knowing that everybody's kind of hiring, but realizing that they deserve to work for a company that really appreciates them, and somebody on our team telling them, oh, well, you should probably come check out where I work because I'm pretty sure they really care about us. So that's been very fulfilling, I think, for all of us, up and down the team, to be able to get some new faces and some new people who, are really good at what they do. They just were at a crappy place, and finally realized that they didn't have to work for, a company that didn't really care about them, that there were other opportunities to get to a place where.
But COVID's changed that, right? COVID's changed help wanted signs and everybody needs help and the gig economy, literally, right? I mean, people are finding other ways to support themselves because they don't want to be mistreated by a company.
Yeah. And I mean, we feel really blessed because we haven't experienced a lot of people leaving. There's been a couple people that have left and they left our industry and are wanting to try something else. And it's we have that discussion and I poke at them and make sure that they are kind of thinking it through. But in the end, I'm not going to hold somebody back, right? Like I want them to go do what they want to do, and let's make it happen. So it's all about the people, you know what I mean? And it's all about trying to help the Baltimore community, the people in our community, the building owners and all that stuff. And that's where we get satisfaction out of what we do. I mean, just so happens we're putting roofs and solar on, but it could be carpet and I don't know what else.
I've had all of the above, by the way, right? So, I mean, in building out a new space, we've dealt with a lot of honorable, hardworking carpenters, contractors, painters, plumbers, our friends at Liberty Pure. Your guys have been up on my roof. So we've definitely felt the competence of folks, especially when they can get the products they need. First rule of picking out a new kitchen was pick out a kitchen that already exists. Manufacturing anything right now, waiting on stuff. And I talk to Dennis about this all the time, that there is a level of patience as I see these thousands of ships out in the Shanghai harbor while Shanghai is shut down. And that may not mean anything to anybody around here, but I've been to China. And that's an effect. And that's something that I think, for the next 20, 30 years in this country, manufacturing things, making things, buying things, local, all those things we hear about. I think that's going to, as much as the world's gone global, it's going to make people think when they can't get parts about, if I could make that, we wouldn't have to sit around here and wait on it, right?
Yep. No, I think that stuff is the longer tail that has time to shake out around the reshoring and manufacturing and, just in time inventory. And I mean, our business went from being a 2-week delivery to a 13-month delivery.
Whew.
So, yeah. And the whole construction world has to adjust and learn. And we were never like the first guys that a builder would be talking to, right? We're like one of the last ones. Like they got to get all these other things in line that have long. Now I'm the first guy. They're like, okay, let's get this going, get your order in because we know how. And it's
we're going to need a roof.
That's totally different, right?
Yeah.
It's a different experience.
All right, dude. Well, I appreciate you. I miss you. It's good to have you back. It's good to have my binky back. I'm out of coffee. That means the segment's over. Bill Cole is here. Cole Roofing and Gordian Energy. You can find him at coleroofing.com. You can find me doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour. New sponsor, Goodwill. John Baylor came on this week. Also, the Maryland Lottery. Obviously, I'm out of my Betty Boop tickets. I have a fresh package. I have to get it together, but I'll have some Betty Boop tickets. We're going to be at G&A Coney Island Hot Dog in White Marsh. Although I told the Highlandtown story, we will be in White Marsh on Philadelphia Road on Friday with Andy. Great family story, and I'm looking forward to having his crab cake, which I've never done. And we're going to be on Wednesday, the 27th, at Conrad's in Perry Hall. Old Perry Inn. We're going to be up north, up on Bel Air Road. Stop by. I know that Cole knows where that is. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore positive. Hot dogs without mustard.